Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. And you're very welcome to a very special Trey webinar on how Apollo has deflected nearly 40% of their IT tickets with their ITSM agent built on top of Trey Merlin Agent Builder. And it's a very special webinar because we are joined by two senior IT leaders within Apollo, Ramiro Mayer and Gabriel Laporte. Guys, thank you so much for being here and giving us your time today. You're very welcome to the webinar. I would love to have you guys give an introduction to yourself and your role at Apollo to the audience who may be not familiar with you.
Thanks for the invitation, Michael. I have been at Apollo for near 2 years and a half now, a bit more. I'm head of IT, and internally, I'm leading IT operations, IT corporate security, and IT AI solutions and integrations as well, or automations. We're transitioning as well our namings internally because everything is now moving forward to AI. But happy to be here.
Thanks, Rama.
Hello, everyone. Name's Gabriel. I've been here at Apollo for 2 years and a half as well, just as Ramiro. Back then, we kind of started the IT team, and it has been a journey of evolution in how the team worked from support into AI now. So I'm the AI solutions engineer at the moment. And a fun fact, we've been working with Ramiro for 15 years, two different companies. Um, so we know each other for a while.
Great. Thanks, Gabby. So, for people who aren't familiar with Apollo, Rama, would you mind just giving a quick overview on the company and kind of where it is to date in terms of the market and kind of the audience that you share?
Yeah. At Apollo, basically, we are building a leading go-to-market intelligence and engagement platform. And the cool fact is that now we also added an AI layer that actually will launch an assistant that basically works for you in plain English. Instead of going and clicking and building stuff, you can talk to a prompt or build the prompt, and then the agent is going to build everything for you. And especially, I always say the same thing, right? For people that it's not from sales like I do, that is super great. And what it's great at Apollo is that it allows you to find, engage, convert your clients into your best customers. Um, and actually, we're serving thousands of business and millions and millions of users around the globe. So it's a really exciting time here at Apollo right now.
Great. Thanks, Rama. So what I'm going to do, guys, is we're going to stop sharing because we don't want to. We feel like there's more value here in the conversation than there is in slides. And just for the audience members, please do feel free to pose any questions that you guys have, and we will answer those towards the end of the session. But guys, going back to the start of your AI journey, if you could bring the audience members back, right? Everyone is sort of clamoring to understand how they can sort of harness the power of AI, how they can bring agents to transform their business. Could you bring us back to the start of your journey and what that looked like and kind of how you try to get your arms around AI?
Yeah, so basically, I would try to not explore a lot of ideas around this, but basically, we're like super early adopters of AI solutions. We tested a lot of them, and also we're like super heavy Tray AI users. So we know or we built like a lot of different automations using Tray. So that was like super helpful when we start landing in this agentic landscape. And essentially, what we did at the beginning was exploration, right? We try to find first how to understand how agentic technology work, how are the tools being triggered, what can we do, guardrails, everything around it. And we try to build like chunks of problems,
Hmm.
basically understand or trying to understand what are the repetitive tasks, you know? So I don't know, Gab, if you want to add some other uh, explanations around that, because I think it's one of the
Sure,
core things around the topic.
sure. So around what Rama was saying, we wanted to focus on what really could free the team some time to not only have, the team was doing support at the time. We always wanted to make a career path for them to also jump into the AI work. And we wanted to free some time out of the support portion so they
Hmm.
can start building their career as well. Um, so we wanted to attack those problems that would probably take the longest of their time and that were repetitive tasks, maybe trivial questions that could be very well answered by an AI agent. Also, we wanted to focus on the lack of 24/7 support that we had at the moment. We did have on call, but we wanted it to be as fast as possible. And the problem that we found when we were looking for solutions for that was that those solutions were very rigid. You needed to adapt your entire work stream to those canned solutions. There are some agent-ready versions of product that are well tailored for IT, but what we found was that we needed to adapt to it, and it was not adapting to our work stream. And that's where we thought we needed more flexibility around that.
Hmm. And I guess when you were looking for solution, right? I'm sure there's a lot of stakeholders in the business that are looking for agents, looking for AI adoption, and looking to you guys as the experts to implement and build solutions. How did you guys work across the business to be able to narrow down the core areas of focus, right? Because everybody's got their hand up, right? Everybody wants an agent for their business stream or multiple agents in their business stream. Can you maybe give, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are trying to navigate this across the organization and trying to, be able to properly, understand where to invest their time in.
Yeah, so I can take that one, Michael. So essentially, what we did at the beginning was trying to understand um, potential jobs to be done by an agent, right? It was
Hmm.
more like, hey, let's gather together with every stakeholder at the company. Internally, we built a team that is called Native AI team, which
Hmm.
is formed by different stakeholders around the business. Um, and initially, we were trying to understand, okay, what is going to be the ROI of each solution that we build, right? In some occasions, as you were mentioning, some of those products were more like, hey, this is a plain generative AI solution, right? I write down something, I have an answer. Or maybe it's another conversational agent. It's more like a Q&A thing. It's like going to free up some space, some time for our, I don't know, employees.
Hmm.
And and essentially what we did in our case for the IT agent was a bit more robust because we were thinking on agentic since the beginning, right? We were trying not only to answer questions, but actually doing stuff. So we wanted that our agent was going to be able to leverage the team time, doing the right thing, applying the right tool or running the right tool. So we did like we also had a lot of concerns around it because we are actually running a pretty amazing team with a high level of CSAT, and we were saying, hey, we're going to add an agent to this team, right? What is going to happen if we don't do it right? People is
Mm-hmm.
going to say, hey, you're adding an AI layer just because it's fancy or it's what it's common right
Thing to
now,
do,
and you're
right?
going to,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going
Yeah.
to degrade your service. So that ended up with a lot of different approaches around that. And we had like dozens of ideas on how to measure it, like, I don't know, deflection, right? But we did like some sort of change around it. And we start thinking of an agent instead of something that it's sitting there deflecting your tickets. We thought as, okay, let's think of an agent that is like another employee, right? A super junior at the beginning, employee that is handling the repetitive tasks.
Mm-hmm.
But then we were thinking on how to measure the success, and with Gabby, well, if you want to say that, Gabby, or to explain that was like one of the coolest things that we did because
Yeah,
we
sure.
did a lot.
So at the very beginning, we were, as you mentioned before, Michael, we were trying to be sure that we were measuring accurately. Uh, so we could select those projects where we could bring real value to the
Mm-hmm.
business. So there was a lot of people raising their hands saying, hey, I also want something like this. So we needed to know how to measure ROI so we could prioritize accordingly uh, for the different projects that we had. So we spent a lot of time around ROI measuring. So we started with how much time this is saving to this particular department or this particular group of employees. Then we started noticing that it was kind of hard. There are some hidden there is some hidden value there because you could well say, for example, okay, we are saving this amount of time because when someone asks, let's say, for a password reset, it's going to take um, a real human agent 15 minutes of their time, maybe, while they validate the identity of the person who is trying to reset. Then, let's say, logging into our identity management system, resetting the password, then going back to the person. So let's say that takes 15 minutes. And you could say, okay, so the agent is now able to do that and is saving people 15 minutes. But what happens if an executive has that issue Sunday at 3 a.m.? Is it the same? There is another value for that, and it's not going to take 15 minutes. In case you have an on-call support, that would probably take, I don't know, maybe 13, 45 minutes while the person is on a passive on-call, log into the service and do everything. And so you have blocked 45 minutes or 30 minutes, 30 minutes, sorry, of an executive. Now imagine you are in the middle of an outage of a product that is being used by millions of users around the world, and one of your key DevOps is having the same problem. So that's a completely different value that you're getting. And the agent is solving that in under 2 minutes.
Yeah, so it solves the problem exponentially, right? You've compounded the problem significantly by looking at it with that lens, which is, a really interesting way to kind of view a problem. So was that kind of your ultimate decision maker to kind of go after or tackle the IT operations route? Was that the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak?
I would say
Definitely.
that, yeah, oh, sorry, Gabby, go, go, go.
So yeah, I was going to say definitely that was part of it. And the other part was also as I mentioned before, freeing up some time from the IT team. We wanted them to have a career path as well and grow into the AI work stream, and also allow them to start building their own solutions to start solving their own issues in their day to day. So sorry, Rama, go.
No,
You
what
want
I
to say
was
something?
Yeah, what I was going to say that those examples that Gabby just mentioned actually happened. They're real. And the big difference that we saw during this kind of rollouts of tools around the agent was that this is not a simple, I don't know, automation workflow, right? We added AI layers inside the workflow as well. Um, so we know exactly what happened to the user. Because, for example, I could be like unlocking a user that it's logged by a, I don't know, potential security reason, right? But the agent is looking at that. It's looking on the logs. It's like more robust than it looks like, right? It has like a lot of different features around it that makes the agent super valuable. So yeah, that was one of our key ideas of why we should start with IT, because also we were running the team as well. So
Right. So you had an inside knowledge of it.
correct,
So
correct.
if we look at, so you guys have identified the problem, you've went across the business, you've looked at where the main focus should be for from an ROI and compounding issue perspective. So now you know where to focus. So if you guys wouldn't mind just walking through kind of how you went about looking at which tool, right? You know what problem, which tool is going to best, or which solution is going to best be able to resolve the issue, right? Um, Kind of talk us through your journey and how you sort of went through the evaluation process.
Great. Yes. So essentially, we did a lot of homework before starting this. We
Mhm.
did like a lot of, I don't know, tickets reviews, Slack conversation reviews, and that's one of the key things around what we did. We understood where the agent should live, right? Because the idea was not forcing people to change the way they work, but let's put the agent where the action is happening, right? Um, and that also helped us to analyze a lot of different tools. Um, and as Gabby mentioned in the past, there are some pre-built tools, but the ability that we were having with Trey to just like put an agent interaction in the way that we wanted for the business that it's used to, right? Because people is talking in a Slack channel and they want an interaction there, and they're used to work on that Slack channel.
Mhm.
That was tremendous. That allows us that feature that Trey has, that it's like, hey, you can, if you have an idea, you can build it. That helped us a lot. And I could say that we spend more time on defining the interaction on the user side than in building the tools for the agent itself, right?
Right.
Because I think it's one of the fun facts around that.
Yeah, if I may add to that, something that we captured from the early stages of our development of the agent was, we tried different tools. They were like this canned package, not very flexible kind of tools that, yeah, those may be agents trained to solve IT issues. The problem is that you need to adapt to the tool. So the tool is not adapting to your environment. And we
Mhm.
wanted to think very differently on that. We wanted the agent to be one more member of the team. We didn't want it to be an application. So we started building some capabilities into it. We started teaching our processes to the agent. It's not like we as a whole team needed to adapt to a tool, to an application, as you would normally do, but we adapted the agent completely to our processes. So we created different workflows that represented our processes. So we have a very specific way of, let's say, resetting a password. We ask some specific questions, and we started building processes as workflows into the agent so it could work the same way a real human agent would do. Besides that, we started building some capabilities into it. For example, let it understand who it's talking to. So it would reply differently if it was talking to a sales rep or to an executive or to someone in a technical position. So it adapted to the kind of role the person had in the organization. So a real agent would know if someone from engineering is asking me something, I'm going to reply in a very technical way because they will understand and they would prefer that. So with a very simple API call to our HRIS, the agent now has the knowledge of who it is talking to, and it can tailor the response in that way. So we started building some human features or human capabilities into the agent. We never saw it as an application, but as another member of the team. Something that I really encourage people to do when building these kind of agents is go on and feed it you have an induction manual on your company, feed it to the agent. Let it understand the same things a real person would go through when they join the company. You have, let's say, a privacy training that you need to do, only fit the agent. Those kind of things, it's going to be an employee for you, for your company, and it needs to have the same level of knowledge. And that is something that we couldn't find in those canned solutions that I mentioned before. They were very rigid, very inflexible, and Trey allowed us to do that and much more than that as well.
So that's two really interesting points coming from what you're saying, Gabby. And you talked about, being able to allow the agent to have access to the likes of your HRIS, organization, and then infusing a knowledge base into the agent as well. And I'm just looking to see, right, a lot of times people talk about that actually the agent part of it is quite easy, but it's the giving the agent the knowledge from across the organization that is quite difficult, right? And with Trey being on that, being built on an AI iPaaS, did you see that as a fundamental difference in being able to give your agents the access to all of that information spread across the organization?
Definitely. So I see that an iPad solution such as Trey was the one that allowed us to go with the flexibility that we needed to train the agent on these kind of human features that I mentioned before. Know who you are talking to. We sometimes found that, as Ramiro mentioned before, we had a pretty good support team. We had very good CSAT. We were kind of worried that the agent would add some noise to the interaction with a human, no? So at the very beginning, what we did was allowing the agent only to interact with the user if it had at least 70% certainty that it could solve the problem. If not, it would just not reply and a human agent would start from there. But then we started making it better, feeding it more knowledge. We understood because we had reporting on when the agent didn't have the answer to something.
Mm-hmm.
We started feeding some more information, and something that we started noticing was that it had capability after feeding some more documents and making some new workflows. We started seeing that it could solve roughly 90% of the queries or questions or problems, or that it could add value to that. So when we were confident, we said, okay, now we can take 100% of the tickets, at least to begin with. Then we also noticed that sometimes a human agent will jump into the conversation if they saw that the IT agent did not or was trying to over solutionize something. So they came up with a quicker response. And we also train the agent to understand if a human agent is coming and talking, just remove yourself from the conversation and let them do their job. Those were some features that we started building into the agent, along with that kind of information. And that is something that you basically cannot do with those rigid tools that are in the market. That is something that you need to build yourself. And that's where, at least I think, we were thinking we had a very strict paradigm of cost of ownership before. And right now, with this AI kind of agent, I think it's the cost of not owning it. You need to be available to customize it, to train it with your processes, to feed it your information. And specifically the part of training it with your processes, that's the part where most of the other tools that are prepackaged do not allow you to do it. So that's where I see trace flexibility excels, and especially with Merlin Agent Builder, where it is very modular. You can just do very simple atomic tools, and that's just another tool in the arsenal of that agent. And you may be able to train it with a new process in a few hours. And that's amazing.
Great. Thanks for that, Gabby. So in terms of rolling this out, you've talked about you wanted the agent to be another member of the team, right? And I think, it's on a lot of people's minds when you're rolling out agents, especially AI agents that are, taking up the slack or taking up a portion of the work that human agents are actually doing. How did the change management process look like? Because it is, an impact to people that are, working, to address tickets, to address queries, and next thing they have a agent that is going and responding for tickets and queries that they were doing previously. What was the kind of feedback? What did the change management process look like at a human level?
Yeah, and essentially that is a pretty good question because we change actually how the IT team operates, right?
Mhm.
So it was mandatory for us understanding, hey, we're going to seed a new tool that is going to be, as Gabby mentioned, a new virtual member of the team. So the team, instead of or answering a first response, right? It's going to start working with escalations. So that is pretty cool. So what we developed was that logic around the agent, and we developed it alongside with the IT operations team, right? It was more like, okay, we're going to change the way that you guys tackle down tickets. Instead of answering a Slack chat, you're going to be escalated by the agent. And with that in mind, we also build like schedules, so we
Mhm.
can keep that trace, sorry, of really good CSAT around the team. We were seeing, okay, if I have a team of, I don't know, 5 folks, let's escalate the tickets to them when they are online instead of reassigning something to someone that it's not available. So that idea of speed also was present. And it was part of this idea of, okay, let's add this virtual employee to the team so the team can free up some time. And actually that's something that is really interesting because that also triggered like something that we talk with Gabi a lot, which is that silent ROI across the team, that the team now is like moving forward, and some folks that were like semi-senior or senior now, they're like moving forward to automation. They're actually building tools for the agent, right? Based on what they are seeing across the tickets and everything that they learn from trade itself. And as you were mentioning around the change management, we also did well, there are like two more agents around IT. One is analyzing the output that the agent sends, or at
Hmm.
least tries to respond. And then the other one is taking the the answers, is checking on the knowledge base, and if there is no document around it, with human intervention, of course, it creates a ticket, right? Those are all the ideas that we were like managing. I mean, this is super new. It's like a month ago. And instead of having one agent, we now have like a team of agents that are doing a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, we're actually using the same agent, the IT agent one, is actually asking the person if they do not, for example, respond, hey, this was fixed or not. And we build like models in Slack so the person that is on the other side can say yes or no. If not, why? What's happening?
Hmm.
And if someone says no, it escalates again the ticket to someone that is available. So it's like a huge logic that we build around AI right now. So everything is now like moving forward with AI. And as I was mentioning, it's not only the solution piece, it's also the operational side as well.
So on the title of this webinar is deflecting 40% of the IT tickets, but obviously that's only one, metric that is
Yes.
relevant for IT operations. What is the kind of being the overall other KPIs that you have been measuring for that you've seen impact with the rollout of this specific agent?
I can say two that are like super important. The customer satisfaction. That
Hmm.
was our main worry. We were really worried about, okay, are we going to break this down or not? And actually, we're seeing like a lot of enthusiasm around the company as well by using the agent. So everyone is saying, hey, this solved me this issue in a fraction of seconds,
Right.
right? And speed as well, right? That's the other thing that we measure. Um,
So the rest of
yes,
the organization is really seeing the benefit of this agent being able
yes,
to resolve their issues very, very quickly before a human agent has ever kind of really even got to it.
correct.
Yeah.
Got it.
Um,
Okay.
to add to that, at the beginning, as Rama said before, we were a little weary of you're going to add this agent and it may create some noise. And we all know how people really don't like interacting with chatbots, but this is not a chatbot. We want it to be another employee. So
Right.
we wanted it to be really clear, really concise. And the big difference that we could make with the agent was when we started creating it is not an FAQ agent, it takes actions in different tools. So if your password is logged, it can reset it for you. If you need let's say you just joined the company, you want a Zoom license, it can go and add a Zoom license to you and things like that,
Hmm.
where the agent is resolving in under 1 minute an issue that would normally take 15 minutes, maybe a lot of questions, and justify your reason for this license and things like that. The agent is able to check your role, see if you are entitled to that license, go and assign the license, everything in under 1 minute, and people really started loving that, and not just because of it, but also because of the novelty of that. We've seen very good responses in our Slack channels. People calling it "Thank you, good Bob," for example, and pasting like if, and the agent understood that and say thank you for your kind words and things like that, and you create that kind of interaction where it feels really human, to be honest. That's where people start feeling engaged with it, because at some point we were worried, and we said, okay, now we are making that step. We are moving forward, and we are allowing the agent to interact in 100% of the ticket that come. We are, let's say, we are forcing people to adopt it. It's not like people are going to decide if they want to use it or not. We are forcing people to adopt it, and that was we were really worried about that, but people started loving it, and that was a very important moment for us. It was a milestone where we started seeing those kind of messages of people saying, "Thank you, agent. You solved this really quickly," or things like that. It's amazing to read that kind of feedback.
That's terrific. So you're getting, the deflection rate, you're getting the CSAT score, you're getting the high CSAT score, but you're also getting that sort of internal adoption and that internal approval that I'm sure there was a lot of hesitancy when people start seeing agents, being rolled out within the organization. So it sounds like a real home run on the ITSM front. I'd love to hear about, because as we've spoke about previously, you guys have a laundry list of agents from across the business. I think it's roughly about 80 that you guys want to tackle over the next, coming months. And what other agents have you guys got out in the wild, and kind of what are the initial results that you're seeing there?
Yeah, we're seeing essentially that number is always changing. It's like, hey,
It always
there are new
is.
ideas. A
Right.
lot of folks talks to us, and for example, hey, I think this is really cool. I would love to do this for XYZ project, right? But what it actually allowed us, this particular project allowed us to um, use the same procedure to different
Hmm.
kind of topics around the business. And that was because of the flexibility that we had on the back end. And we were like, I don't know, we built fraud agents. We built a legal agent that, for example, it doesn't have the same structure than this one. The legal agent creates a jira ticket with a probable answer based on the data that is consuming on the knowledge base. And
Hmm.
then if the legal rep on the other side says, yes, this is correct, it sends back to the person that asked that question. Because some of those questions are like super, like, you need to be extremely careful on what you answer, right?
Sure.
Um, and we needed that human validation. And that same level of complexity of interaction that we built for the AT agent gave us a lot of, or it opened a lot of doors.
Hmm.
And we're actually building a customer 360 agent that it's like getting information across different data sets to help us to understand what our clients need, the pain points, all that kind of stuff, which is super important for us. And what else? We're working on a HR agent as well, a people agent, sorry. Um, and I don't know if I'm missing someone else or someone something else,
So
and
it
a
sounds like
specific agent.
you guys
Yes,
got your hands full from a production perspective on agent.
yes,
Um,
yes.
there's on the horizon, certainly not far away. Everyone's looking to understand how do they get their arms around MCP and 808 and adopt that and bring it into the organization. What has been your experience so far, specifically around like MCP, and what is being kind of what is the roadmap look like for Apollo?
Right. Yes, MCP is actually a super hot topic because I mean it's super useful, but you need to be careful on how you connect an MCP, right? Guardrails, are you like um is the data safe? Is the data going to be consumed there? Is there a permits hierarchy around the data that you're consuming from an MCP? Those are the questions that we're actually asking ourselves. And what I'm seeing across the org, or at least that would be my ideal world, is one agent to rule them all. You know, to have like one agent that is an orchestrator and you can ask that agent whatever you want, right? And that agent is actually calling sub-agents, and those sub-agents are calling themselves just to solve a problem for you. We're actually starting on that architecture. We started, especially in IT, because again, Michael, is the place that we came from. We know exactly what we want. We know everything around IT, on how IT is being run at Apollo. So I think that that's the future for me. At least that's my idea of where do we want to go. I don't know, Gab, if you have something in your mind.
Yeah, no, definitely. I fully agree. And something that we started seeing is that, of course, people start seeing this kind of adoption and they like what they are seeing and they raise their hands. They say, I want something like that for my team. And as Ron mentioned before, we started creating fraud agent, um, people agent, legal agent, and you start seeing this proliferation of agents. So we also want to make sure that people can interact with all of them. They know where to go to interact with them. They are right now, they live in different Slack channels, but we are starting thinking of creating one Apollo agent instead of the legal agent, the IT agent. So we want like an overseer agent that receives the question and then hands it over to the more specialized agent. And you can get all the specialization you want. So you can have different levels and you can have agents that hand it to other agent that maybe hand it to another agent, and you can get as specific as you want to go. Um, and I know that is something that Trey is building, and we are also working on our own ways of doing that and understanding where we want to get with that, just to be prepared for that feature as well.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be a tried and tested path for customers that are very much at the cutting edge of that master agent that is then handing over to those sub agents, who work, in conjunction with. So really excited to see that rollout and see the results that you guys are getting from that over the next few months. I have one more question before we hand it over to Q&A from the audience. So please, anybody who has any more questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Um, so when you've been rolling out, you had a sort of a remit from senior leadership in the organization at the business level to go out and roll out AI agents. How is that being kind of floated back up into the senior leadership team? We talk about CSAT, we've talked about deflection rate, right? What are the other core drivers that the senior leaders of the organization want to get from this major rollout of AI agents?
I mean, I would say that it will depend on every single department, right? It's like every single department knows what they need, and for example, in some cases, it's speed is quality. Instead of CSAT, they want to see quality of answers, for example, right? Um, I don't know if you have like call coaching, which is something that we build as well with Trey. Gabby built one version of it, a pilot version of it. Um, that agent was like analyzing the meetings quality, the transcripts, all that kind of stuff, which end up with a project on the go-to-market team, right? That pilot that Gabby started move away from us and started and was like handled now by the go-to-market system because they know where they want to connect all the dots, right? And for me at least, it's something that it will depend on every single department, but on a high level view, we started from time, right? The goal was to reduce the time that people was spending doing their jobs, and it changed to productivity, right? How much more productive we are with AI, and it can change again, right? That's the cool piece of this, that it's like for you, we are also evolving on how to use AI. It's
Right.
not written in stone. So essentially, those were our first initial two triggers, time and
Yeah.
productivity.
Yeah, and just to add something to it, if you are going to treat your agent as a human, start evaluating it as a human. So what do you evaluate from your support team? You evaluate CSAT, you evaluate how many tickets it handles, how long it takes to close those tickets. Start using those kind of KPIs. The same goes for what would you expect from a coaching agent? Well, what I would expect is that it takes the highest amount possible of calls and that it does a really good work at QA and at rating those tickets. So when we started, we wanted to have one single KPI for any kind of agent, and we started noticing maybe that's not the way to go. Maybe what you want to do is evaluate the agent as you would evaluate the human that does the same task. And that's what started changing our mind on how our AI solutions were bringing value to the company. If you are talking about an agent like a customer 360 agent, what are you going to evaluate? I want to evaluate how how is the quality of the information that it's giving me of the customer. And what I want to have from it is the best possible information to make the best possible informed decision. So I think at this moment in our journey, we started noticing that there is no single KPI for an AA agent. It's different depending on the task that it's doing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I love the way you're thinking about, think about if this is a real person, right? What do you measure that real person on, right? And I think that kind of flips the switch of how measure success on these agents. So I'm going to move it to Q&A and see if we have any questions from the audience. So we have a question right off the bat. It said from one of our the audience members, if you guys were to go back and do something different, or you think you made a mistake in the rollout, what would you do?
That is a great question. That is a great question because we did a lot of stuff, honestly, and and I think that all those mistakes were really good because now we tend to know where we want to go, right? But essentially, I have like one phrase around it, which is think in the process, right? We started to think in atomic tasks, right? I don't want to spend more time doing this, for example. But when we switch that idea into sitting the agent in the process to help the or to help you to run the process way much smoother than you're doing right now with all the guardrails that you need, all that kind of stuff, that change our idea of on how we build AI agents. Um, at least that's my perspective. Processes are key here.
Got it. Okay, great. Thanks. Gabby, do you have anything you would add on that?
Yeah, a mistake we did and we could have avoided. As Rama said, those mistakes that happen along the way are the ones that are going to teach you how to build better in the future. But if I could go back, I'd say don't be so weary and don't be so reticent to put it in front of people, because when you sit this in front of people and the feedback starts flowing, that's where the agent actually gets better. And that is something that we did in the early stages. But an advice from me would be, once you have the agent built, the first thing you need to build for it is a way to capture that feedback. Make sure that you know when it's making a mistake, when it doesn't have the answers for something, because when you get that kind of feedback, you can start building tools for those cases where it made mistakes or it didn't have answers. And that's what makes the agent exponentially better. Maybe you can add a feature in a matter of hours that will solve for that particular problem for the rest of time, for every question that comes into that topic in the future. And that's great. Feedback is key. Don't be afraid of sitting the agent in front of people. You need the feedback.
Great advice.
I think Gabby muted himself
I think,
accidentally.
yeah, just finishing up his point.
No, yeah. Yeah, what I was going to say is a lot of QA. As Gabby was saying, a lot of QA. That's why we sit our agent in a Slack channel. Everyone was seeing what the agent was saying and doing, right? So we had the entire team looking, hey, this is doing great, this is not. Everything was tracked in a Jira ticket as well. So we did a lot of QA based on the answers. That is super important. And at the beginning, we didn't, right? It was more like, hey, let's see what the agent does. But once we transition into this new model of getting a lot of feedback, a lot of data from what the agent actually solved, that changed a lot the way that the success of the project itself.
And I think this leads into the next question. I'm going to abbreviate it a bit here, but in terms of the guardrails that you put out with the agent, kind of what did that look like? Did you kind of run into any issues where maybe you hadn't give the agent the right guardrails, where it was kind of going off and kind of doing, things that are a bit kind of kooky?
Yeah, and around the guardrails, I think that Gabby and myself, we have some background in security as well, so we're really into security. So we wanted to explore all the potential solutions before, like, actually granting the agent tools to do stuff for us. So that's why we started at the beginning with this model of be sure of what you're doing, right? If you're 70% sure that this is going to work, run this or recommend this, right? So those were the initial phases around the prompting training. Um, and also with the tools descriptions, and as well with some guardrails around the tools with, for example, identity checks. Um, but yeah, this was really important, and we had that security first idea from since the beginning.
Hmm.
But it's super important. As I mentioned before during the webinar, permits hierarchy, the data. Are you consuming the right data, the one that you have access to? That's super important because maybe you're like granting an agent the permits of reading everything and retrieving information that it should not be public.
Right, right, exactly.
I could add one more guardrail to what Rama was saying. At the very early stages of QA for the agent, where it was not yet in front of people, we started asking weird questions to the agent, are outside IT, for example, saying, who is the most annoying person in the company? Things like that. And the agent had those kind of guardrails to not making that kind of mistake of answering things like that. You need to be careful. Not only around security, but also around human interaction, and also we asked questions to the IT agent. For example, we said, agent, I'm feeling a little depressed. What can I do? And it tried to give a solution to that. So you need to be careful. You need to build some guardrails. Tell the agent, this is your job description. Don't go around giving psychological advice to people. And those kind
That's
of guardrails
amazing. That's great.
of human interaction are also important.
Great. Well, listen, guys, I think that's the questions that we have to be answered for today. Rama, Gabby, thank you so much for giving us your time today. It was a pleasure to hear the story of Apollo and their adoption of AI agents, and looking forward to hearing more on your MCP and A to A adoption as well. Thank you for everybody who tuned in today. I hope you got a lot of value as much as I did from it. We really appreciate your attendance. This recording will be sent out to you, so look for that in your inbox over the coming days. Thanks again to everybody, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye now.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
guys.
See you all.
See
Thank
you.
you.